We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports? We hope that you guys are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Huge show in store for you tonight. Shawne Merriman, their former first-round pick, number 12 overall pick, San Diego Chargers and the Buffalo Bills, is going to be joining us. Lights out. Mr. Lights Out himself is going to be joining us around 7:20. Really looking forward to having Shawne on the show, good friend. Also, if you have not seen it, is Texas and Oklahoma going to join the SEC? I know that this is not a very big LSU thing to some, but it will if they join the conference. I will tell you why it will be big news. I talked with a Big 12 official today, and he tells me that it could be imminent that Oklahoma and Texas may join the SEC. LSU has the pieces to win a national title. Nobody believes it. I do. They have the pieces. We will talk about that as well. I had a lot of DMs last night from some angry people that we did not get to hashtag askblake. So we will do that tonight. So you have your comments, put in the hashtag askblake, and we will answer those questions right along with it. But before we get started, as always, guys, let's get to a couple of these comments before we get started. Kari Hayes says, no top 25 ranking. Oh, no. I put out my top 10 today. I put LSU at 6 because last time LSU was ranked 6 preseason, they won a national title. I'm going to put that there. Devin says on Facebook Live, Lights Out is in the building. That he is. Dale Broussard says Texas and Choklahoma. Very true. Logan says Bevo's ass ain't ready for the SEC. Well, he was ready for UGA a couple of years ago. Y'all remember that when Bevo almost killed the Bulldog, like literally almost killed the Bulldog. Danny says, let's go. And a lot of people are saying, let's go as well. So we will get ready to get going. Let's do this as we do every time before the show. Let's pay some bills around this place, and then we'll get started. None better than our good friends. My guy, Harold Woods, a good friend of mine, watches the show, huge LSU fan. Went over to GM Varno and Sons a couple of days ago, got his big rig fixed. So I want to thank Trey and all the guys over there. Guys, they're one of the most professional places that you can go in all the state of Louisiana. That is GM Varno and Sons and our good friends over at betonline.ag. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. Or go see them over at 2500 Florida Boulevard in Denham Springs, Louisiana. Also, our good friends over at betonline.ag. Guys, I've been telling you about BetOnline for some time now. You got to get over to BetOnline for all your mobile betting needs. Anything and everything that you want will be on BetOnline. Guys, the NFL season is right around the corner. So is college football. And you got to get over to BetOnline, sign up, use that mobile device, and that way you will have your first deposit off of 50%. You got to go over there, guys. I've been doing it. It's been so much fun to be able to use my mobile device, sit on my couch, sit on my recliner, and use BetOnline. Nobody does it better than them. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. All right, let's get this thing started. We will get to a couple of comments. Cedric says, hello, Blake Ruffino and fellas, ready for some football. As you can see, the comments are a little bit more different on our service tonight. We are making some moves. Camera's a little bit better. Hopefully, we're fixing the technical difficulties here as well. Let's start off here. As Brian, let's do this. Brian sends us $4.99 on the super chat. I appreciate that, my friend. He says, I guess Texas and Oklahoma like being on suicide watch. That could be very true. Very, very, very true. Let's start here because I want to get to LSU. Having the pieces that I think that they're gonna push for a national title, but I don't think that we're gonna be able to get around the simple fact of that Texas and both Oklahoma looked into becoming a part of the SEC. We are hearing from people at the Houston Chronicle who broke the story. Matt Trent had somebody on, I forget his name off the top of my head, from the Houston Chronicle, I believe, who stated that he believes that this is imminent. Now, when he said that, I did some digging around the Big 12, and they also tell me that it could be imminent that Texas and Oklahoma is definitely looking and pursuing becoming a part of the SEC, and the SEC will entertain it. The SEC has been known to bring in teams. Now, they brought in Texas A&M, if you remember, Missouri a couple of seasons ago. It would be interesting to see if they would bring in Texas and Oklahoma to make a super conference. Now, the question that has been happening, and a lot of people are making these what ifs, but guys, news like this doesn't break or get leaked if there's not some serious talk about it. It's going to be very interesting if it does. Now, a lot of people say, well, Blake, how would you do that? Would you go from the West? How would you do the West? How would you do the East? It's very simple. Everything West from the state of Louisiana, Missouri goes in the West. Everything from Alabama to the East would be in the East. So my West will be LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas, Texas A&M, and in the East, Bama, Auburn, Vandy, Kentucky, Tennessee, UGA, or Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. So I think it's doable, right? Like, I think that them coming into the conference is doable. But let me say this off the top, because Texas and Oklahoma fans are in my mentions, they're in my DMs saying this would be great for the SEC if Oklahoma and Texas came into the conference, where it would be a good thing from a financial standpoint. Don't act like football-wise that you're going to waltz your happy ass up into the SEC and think that you're going to do anything. You haven't – yeah, maybe you could say Oklahoma's relevant. Now, I think they're going to be pretty good this year with Spencer Rattler, but they have not really done anything. When's the last time a team in the Big 12 won not only a playoff game – hasn't happened – but when is it that they've won a national title? Is Texas the last time, and you guys are going to have to refresh my memory on this, isn't Texas the last school, because Oklahoma hasn't played for it. Oklahoma didn't win a playoff game. I mean, their conferences hasn't been relevant. Yeah, you're getting Choklahoma in there every once in a while, but you're not winning national titles like multiple schools have done in the SEC, and even Georgia is getting into the national title game against Alabama. The South is where this is dominating. Now, the bad thing for college football as a whole, if this happens, I don't want to say would be regional, but it is going to get more and more regional as these things happen, right? Like, name a team outside of Ohio State that's not from the South that's won a national title in the last 20 years. Yeah, you can maybe throw in USC. They cheated. Give Reggie Bush's Heisman Trophy back, though. Give it back. But the simple fact of it is that college football right now is a very regional sport, and they want a part of that action. They want a part of the SEC action. You know what else they want a part of is that ESPN deal. If you think that this doesn't have more to do with money than anything, you're crazy. You're crazy. They want a part of what the SEC is doing because the Big 12 has shown that they can't be competent in what they're doing because they haven't been. They couldn't fight for a bigger school. And when you're going to laugh at this when I say bigger school, but Texas A&M is a bigger school, especially when it comes to the financial side of things. Texas and Oklahoma would not have a good time in the SEC, and they would get patty smacked. I don't know if this is a publicity stunt. I don't know if Texas and Oklahoma are trying to pull something over our eyes as a publicity stunt because they're unhappy with the Big 12. That's something that easily could be happening. But there's more people that you talk to who said that this could be very likely. Now, again, I've mentioned that this kind of stuff doesn't get leaked, and it never does, right? Like this kind of stuff never just gets leaked. Somebody wanted it out there, either from the Texas or Oklahoma side. And it was so funny as both of those schools were mentioned in this, right? Oklahoma's not going to go without Texas. Texas isn't going to go without Oklahoma. Come on. I think it could be really interesting for the SEC. It'd be interesting for LSU. What would be even more interesting for LSU is that if you put Alabama in the East, let's look at the teams that would just be in the East, okay? You can laugh at Florida. Florida recruits well. Florida wins. They were in the SEC championship game last year. Georgia is always in the SEC title game. Look, we can laugh about them and say they don't win. They do win a lot of football games. Then you would have Auburn and you would have Bama. That makes the East, in and of itself, a much tougher conference, obviously with Alabama, and Auburn sometimes historically does have dominant teams. We remember when they got beat by Georgia in the SEC title game a couple of years ago, that win would have put Auburn into the playoff. They've gone to national titles. They've won national titles in the last 20 years. The West would still be dominant because the truth is that Oklahoma is still going to put up points. They're going to do stuff. They're going to make things happen. Now, Texas, but Texas A&M, LSU, that would be very dominant. Absolutely be very dominant. It would be interesting to see, though. I would hate for LSU to not have Alabama in the regular season. Look, I'm not the individual that wants to run away from Alabama like some people say and some people want to do. I think that that's very soft. SAWT, soft. We don't run away from anybody. Our fan base doesn't run away from anybody. You shouldn't want to either. So, that would be the bad thing is that if LSU couldn't play Alabama in the regular season. But the truth is LSU would be the top dog in the West if that happened. Nobody's going to compete with them. A&M, Texas, Oklahoma all can act like that they're going to dominate and they're going to win. No, they're not. No, they're not. All right, let's get to a couple of these comments. Matt Guidry says, #AskBlake. Would that mean that Alabama and Auburn would move to the East and Texas and Oklahoma join? Yes. I mean, look, that's the only way that I see that could be possible. And look, when the conferences realigned a couple of seasons ago, when in 2010, 11 years ago, stuff like this does happen every 10 and 11 years. So, look, we have seen teams constantly leave the Big 12. Missouri and A&M joined the SEC, and look at the success financially that those schools have had, mainly more Missouri than anybody. They went out of the Big 12 because it's not a conference that's having a lot of success. I don't see them going to the Pac-12. I can't see them going to another conference. What else would they do? The SEC is the only either staying in the Big 12 or going to the SEC is the only viable option. The only viable option for those two schools if they're going to leave the Big 12. Again, is this a publicity stunt? I don't know that. I see a lot of people laughing at a comment. Let's see. Brandon Reese says, as an LSU fan, I wouldn't mind starting a rivalry with Texas. I wouldn't either. And we can say what we want about Texas. Guys, they're a big brand. Like, let's not be naive enough to think that Texas isn't a big brand. Guys, they are. They're one of, if not the biggest brand outside of an Alabama. We can debate that. From a brand standpoint, guys, from a brand standpoint, they're humongous. They're huge. It would be fun to have an LSU and Texas rivalry. And look, LSU historically goes into the state of Texas and gets high recruits. A&M would hate it the most because they're reaping the benefits. A&M is reaping the benefits of being able to recruit in the state of Texas and going and getting SEC talent. I mean, they're not going to like in their Rush Bjork, the AD at Texas A&M, already came out with a statement saying we don't want Texas in the SEC. Well, of course he doesn't. They're the only action in the SEC when it comes from a Texas school. Of course he doesn't want that. It's funny to me, though, Texas and fans and Oklahoma fans laughed at A&M for joining the SEC, and now they're about to do it, or they're trying to do it. It's funny how things come around. Sam Dixon says, I almost thought this said Shay Dixon, but it says Sam Dixon. How awesome it would be for the LSU Texas to be a yearly thing in all sports. Yeah, and look, basketball, baseball. Guys, we're focusing on football here, but think Texas was in the College World Series last year. Texas has had good basketball programs in the past. Oklahoma, yeah, well, maybe not from any other sport. I mean, they've had some good basketball runs. They've had Trae Young, Blake Griffin. I mean, but they've never really done anything. I mean, you would want them to come from a football prowess, but from a college baseball prowess, Texas has it. I mean, look at what they did just a season ago. But it would be fun to explore that. RJ Green on YouTube says, #AskBlake, what do you think about OU fans thinking they would be a top 3 team in the SEC? It cracks me up. Yeah, I posted a tweet that the Blake Ruffino, as their people are telling me, the Blake Ruffino gif or video or whatever it is of me laughing my ass off when they said that, RJ, I posted that video laughing. Guys, it's not even close to being true. Oklahoma and Texas are not going to come in the SEC and run things. That won't happen. If it is in the West, LSU, Texas, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, LSU will dominate that division. Now, here, Georgia, Florida, I guess you can say Tennessee, Kentucky, but they don't really – Georgia and Florida would absolutely hate Alabama and Auburn going to the East. Why wouldn't they? We can laugh at about Auburn all the live long day, but they recruit well and they have good teams. I mean, guys, look, Auburn is not always a pushover. So I don't – and look, Georgia and Auburn always play, but I'm sure Florida would not want to play Auburn and Alabama every year. They wouldn't want to play – Georgia wouldn't want to play Nick Saban every year. They just wouldn't. Bert on Facebook Live says hashtag horns down. I like that. Josh Rogers says hashtag Ask Blake. Got to get the Buckeyes in the SEC. Screw Texas and Oklahoma. Yeah, but you're not a Southeastern Conference. At least they're in the South. You know, like you're not really welcome, bro. Josh Rogers, by the way, guys, is a Ohio State fan. So who is USC? I was talking about South Carolina, but I thought I said South Carolina. I don't think I said USC. Logan's talking about who is USC when I talked about the titles. Kenny says, yes, Texas in 2005. So 2005 is the last time a Big 12 team won a national title. So, guys, I mean, it's been a long time since their conference has done anything. You can't say anything about the ACC because they have their top dog in Clemson. Now, guys like and there's a couple of guys who really like North Carolina. Brett Ciancia, who we had on last night, had him in his playoff 14 playoff. There are a couple of guys I'm hearing that really like North Carolina. Guys, Ohio State played for a national title last year. You know what LSU's done. You know what Alabama's done. Auburn's been in the mix. Georgia's gone to a national title game. So their conference and teams as a whole hasn't done shit. They're not going to be shit, and they sure as hell aren't going to come over to the SEC and do it. If Oklahoma and Texas fully believe that they can come here and wreck the SEC, that's just pure arrogance, right? Like pure absolute arrogance that they think that we can just waltz in and do really good in the SEC. Ask Texas A&M how that was. Ask Texas A&M how that went. Hi. You know you're not supposed to be here during the week. You can only come in on Saturdays. Close the door. Love you. My son, Ben. How funny would it have been if Shawne Merriman, who's supposed to be joining us soon, would have came in? Benjamin, bye. Close the door. Close the door. A couple more, and then we'll get in here when Shawne drops in. Make sure I don't have a text message. That 337 guy on YouTube says, Blake, you see how good Dakotas Crawford is looking? Yeah, I mean, look, he dominated in that LSU football camp, y'all. He absolutely dominated in that LSU football camp. You can't take that away from him, right? Like you just can't. You're not going to be able to take that away from him. So, I mean, as he continues to do some really good things, look, what's funny about Dakotas Crawford and some of these recruits is they're labeled as 3 stars and things like that. But man, I mean, come on, man. Mark says, give LSU, Tennessee, or Kentucky or South Carolina. Give LSU, Tennessee, or Kentucky or South Carolina. What are you talking about, Mark? Ty says, from a brand standpoint, Texas has more money than anyone else in college football. Thank you. Where's your mommy? Go find mommy. Thank you. I love you. Bye-bye, buddy. Bye-bye. But I agree with that. Dude. Go find mommy. Tell everybody hey. Okay. Tell everybody hey. Say hey, everybody. Say hey. Say hey. All right. Now you've been on TV. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, buddy. Let's get to a couple more comments here. Shawne Merriman's supposed to be joining us right about now. So let me see. Let's get this in here. I need to text him. and make sure we're still good. I think we are. I talked to him before we started. Ty says, don't disagree with that either comment. Derrick says, is this a play to try and get the Big 12 and add a solid team or two? It could be. Like, and look, Derrick, your point here about Oklahoma and Texas doing this to try to see if the Big 12 can add a couple of teams. But the problem with that, though, is that, I mean, I get maybe some teams who want to join the Big 12 because Texas and Oklahoma would be out of it, but who would you add? Like, what big branded? I mean, you're not going to pull USC. I doubt that you pull Oregon. I mean, what you going to get? Boise State? I mean, you got West Virginia, who's in the Big 12, who's on the damn East Coast. I mean, the Big 12 is kind of all over the place. I'd be interested to see what, if LSU is going to do. LSU, if the SEC is going to do something like that, if they don't try to poach West Virginia somehow, maybe, I don't want to say tell Missouri goodbye, but I don't know about that. I mean, from a standpoint, I don't know how they would do that. It would be very interesting, though. It'd be extremely interesting to see how that would go. Let me text Shawne. Make sure we're good to go. All right. Let's see. Tiki Tech Taco on YouTube says, have to ask Shawne about the bare knuckle boxing. Yeah, I saw that. I didn't even know he was really into it. I did see, though, however, that he was him and Greg Hardy, which, by the way, if you didn't know or didn't see, Greg Hardy got knocked out in UFC. I forget the number of it, 2, whatever. That dude got knocked clean out and then was talking trash at the end of it. Like, bro, you got not only you just got blitzed on that, bro. Like, you got blitzed on that. A couple more. We'll get to Shawne as he's looking like he's going to be trying to join us here. Bert says, I would rather see University of Houston and Texas Tech join the SEC. It's definitely possible. I mean, look, it looks like the SEC is definitely trying to add a couple of teams, and it would be crazy. And look, with name, image, and likeness, how does this affect Oklahoma? How does this affect Texas? I mean, this could be even a bigger brand for them. We don't know how that's going to affect the college football landscape. Craig says, we want the naked Jaybird. That is my son, Ben. Yeah, we're trying to get him better on not coming in here during the week. We'll let him run free during Saturdays. Kenny says, bye-bye. Yeah. Look, I mean, we're trying to get better with it. When we get in the new studio, it will be a little bit better. Mark Richardson says Texas would go 6-6 in the SEC. I could see that. I can certainly see that. Derrick says, I only mentioned Maryland beating Texas twice since Lights Out went there. Yeah, Maryland did beat Texas a couple years ago. And look, Shawne's coming on. I was so happy when the Terps put as our friend The Rock would say, and Warren Sapp said on their show, smacketh down on Texas's candy ass. Like, I was very happy about that. All right, let's do this. We're going to get to Shawne Merriman. Let's get to a very quick break. We'll bring him on. Put in your questions. Hashtag Ask Shawne. We'll get him in there. Got a lot to talk about with him. But very quickly, we got to talk about a good friend, Mr. John Patton, over at GMFS Mortgage. Guys, if you're thinking about buying a new home, saving money on the mortgage that you have now, or even doing that cash out refi, the timing has never been better. Get in touch with John Patton from GMFS Mortgage today if you're thinking about making a change. Want to save $300, $400, $500 a month on that mortgage? You need to call him, 225-614-1234. That's 225-614-1234. Purchase, refinance, build, or renovate. Nobody is better than our good friend, Mr. John Patton, and our good friends over at the Drake Williams Law Firm. Guys, DrakeWilliamsLawFirm.com, 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600. Tell him your good friend, Mr. Blake Ruffino, over at AYS, sent you on by. All right, our good friend, Mr. Shawne Merriman, is joining us. Looks like his camera is out. We'll get him back in here. But Shawne, if you can hear me, we are ready to go. So fire in your questions for Shawne. Yeah, that Texas game was really fun watching them get beat down. Wasn't that Herman's first season? I'm pretty sure that was Herman's first season. Them just getting layeth down, absolutely beat down by This is why I need a producer. Shawne, yep, just go out. Shawne, if you can hear me, go out, come back in. We'll be good. So Shawne is trying to connect in here with us. There we go. There we go. We're going to bring him on. Just stand by with us. He's having a little bit of technical difficulties. Colin Thibodeau says if you Texas, you can't run from LSU if you want the same division in the same conference. That's true. You can't. You're not going to be able to. Like, no way possible are you going to be able to. Let's see here. Chris Barnhill says, I'm completely okay with Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC. David says, would you rather see TCU and Oklahoma State? Not really. I mean, if you're going to bring them in, bring those two guys in, right? Like, bring those two guys in. Derrick says, would this force Notre Dame's hand to join the conference? Derrick, you know what's interesting about that? I think that they're already trying to force Notre Dame's hand. We'll see about that. Shawne, if you can hear me, looks like we got him. We're gonna try to bring him in here soon. But I think that they're already trying to force Notre Dame's hand on the simple fact of if you're not in the conference, then you can't get a number 1 overall seed in the playoff, stuff like that. Like that's the kind of stuff that I think is going to start forcing Notre Dame's hand on all of this. Brandon Reese says nobody from a power conference wants to join the Big 12. Yeah, and why would they? Right? Like, and why would they? I don't know why they would. It makes no financial sense for them. Here's an interesting point that Mark brings. He says Nebraska and Iowa State needs to go to the Big 12. Now they could be. Well, Iowa State's in the Big 12. Are you talking about Iowa? I mean, I think Nebraska should be back. You know what's funny? I was in Atlanta with my brother, and he was doing some job, and we ran into a Nebraska fan. And he was doing some work for a Nebraska guy, and he wants them to be back in the Big 12. Wanted them to be back in the Big 12. So, all right, we're having some technical difficulties, or Shawne's having some technical difficulties getting in. We'll try to bring him in here soon. We're going to get him in here. We'll stay here until we can get him in. It'll be good. We'll be good to go. Definitely looking forward to the interview, though. Here we go. Let's see. Colin Thibodeau says, and LSU won't turn down the AC off in the locker room year after year like Texas did. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Did y'all see on Twitter when Texas fans saying that, oh, they know the temperatures of what it was when they were in there. There was no thermostat or anything like that. So let's try to bring Shawne in here. Shawne, if you can hear us. Shawne, can you hear us?
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing good, man. I appreciate you joining us. We're trying to fix your camera on our side too, but I greatly appreciate you joining us tonight. Man, I got to start off here. I got to tell you something, Shawne. From the bottom of my heart, I got to thank you, because I'm going to be honest. I had LaDainian Tomlinson on my fantasy football team a long time ago, and it was the year that he broke the record. But people don't remember, Shawne, and I told myself if I ever talked to you, I would thank you for this. You had that strip sack before LT got the record. When that happened, and for LT to break that record, how awesome was that for you? Because I know how awesome that was for me. But for you being on the sidelines and being a part of that game, how awesome was that for you?
You know, the craziest thing at that time is that you didn't know how big the moment was, right? So I was, I was young, and I did the if I can remember, I think I did the Honolulu, the Pro Bowl dance after I got it. I was thinking about the Pro Bowl. I just got another sack. I'm definitely going to the Pro Bowl. It didn't click to me until I ran back to the sidelines and the crowd started chanting LT. And I looked back and I said, oh, damn, he's about to break the record. And at that very moment, man, I became like a fan. It was so weird at the time, because I became like, damn, I just did something that is going to be a part of history. Like when I see some of the, LT break the record, they sometimes play that clip before, because the game would have been over. He wouldn't have broken that game.
Right.
And so I was standing on the sideline and I'm hearing them chant LT, which I don't understand how everybody didn't know he was getting the damn ball. Like you're chanting LT. Right. Who's getting the ball? He's about to break the record. I mean, you stack the box. You put 12 men in the box because he's getting the ball, and he goes out and scores the very next play. And I'll tell you, and I just said it the other day, when somebody asked about like a favorite moment of my career, that seemed like a one of those sports football movies where they raise them up and their fans are
Shawne, can you hear us?
In a movie. So that was one of the best.
Right. You know, it's something that football just doesn't give us those moments as often as we would want. And that's something that, you know, you being a part of it is just so interesting. And I always wanted to, when I got to talk to you, wanted to bring it up because I know that it had to be a very special moment for you. Before we get to football, I do got to ask you, we have a lot of people in our chat right now wanting to ask you the question about the bare knuckle fighting. Shawne, are you still actively training hard for stuff like that? I saw you were in the gym the other day on Insta. Are you still training hard, doing some mixed martial arts stuff and stuff like that?
It's become like a discipline of mine for the past 16 years, but especially when I retired. And when I talk to a lot of guys, especially former guys, I say, look, the hardest thing to do is when you retire, them first 2 years are the roughest because
right.
like you're just trying to figure out what the hell you're doing. And, you know, for us, I'm like, man, listen, you gotta have something. So yeah, I started training MMA and started doing a lot of this stuff when I retired, and I picked it up even more. So, right. You know, fast forward 2016, I originally was going to go fight possibly with Bellator, right, in 2016, 2017. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad I did, man, because, you know, now I got Lights Out Extreme Fighting. But, you know, if you go, for me, I know that why these fighters and promoters wanted me to fight. Obviously, I played in the NFL. My name's carried some weight. And then, you know, people want to see if I can go. So when you go and promote another promotion, another league, it's fine if they're paying you a ton of money at that time. But for me, it became not worth it when I had my own promotion with Lights Out Extreme Fighting.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, look, we have under my umbrella and our podcast, we do have a UFC mixed martial arts guys that fight, guys that win belts, and they come on that all the time. I do got to ask you, and look, you don't have to answer, but the Greg Hardy thing and the banter, I would say a little bit back and forth. Where did that really start, and why do you believe that he's kind of bringing your name out a little bit? I mean, is that just something that he just brought up one day, or why do you think that is?
So what happened was I've known Dana for some years. So we initially started kind of bumping into each other at certain events or certain functions or whatever. Sometime crossing paths. I'm going into a place for a business meeting. He's coming out of one, or a casino, whatever it is. We will always cross paths. And so I think he found out from some of the other guys who I was training against who were fighting in the UFC or did fight in the UFC. And they will always tell him, like, hey, Shawne can go. Shawne can go. So right. We actually did talk about Greg Hardy some years ago about me possibly fighting him. And by, kind of at the same time, Lights Out Extreme Fighting was forming, right? So I knew that Dana definitely 100% wanted me to fight in the UFC, which they have a great organization. I got nothing bad to say with what they're kind of pioneers of the industry. But right. Again, for me to go and fight in another organization when I'm trying to build my own promotion didn't make any sense for me. Even though most people look and say, man, you can go fight in UFC for a lot of money, this and this. It's certain things with me that's bigger than money. And so if I'm going to go bring my name to an organization and bring, the media, whatever attention it's going to bring to a fight, I have to make sure it's right. And so I told Greg, I said, listen, 3 years ago when you started out some years, I would have mopped your ass around the floor. He was terrible.
Right.
I said, man, look, you're not skilled enough. You're using oxygen tanks and pumps over there to get breath out. You don't have the stamina. And I was just kind of going back and forth with him, but I was dead serious at the time. Now, to his credit, I will say this, even though he didn't, he got knocked out in his last fight and he had a fight before that didn't look so well. He's fighting against people that has been training for 10, 15 years. Right. He's a super late bloomer. So in that aspect, I'll give him credit for that because a lot of people can't do that. His learning curve was better. Now, the whole thing came about again because I ran into a mutual friend at a function that I was at. And I guess he had told her that that he wanted to fight. And I said, send this mother effer a picture, right? I was like, send him a picture.
You can curse on here, brother. It's a podcast.
Yeah. I was like, I'll like send his ass a picture, right? And so I did it kind of jokingly to say, look, if you want to fight, I'm still in shape. I'm in shape year round, and I still go and I'll train at Black House in LA. I'll train at Extreme Couture in Vegas, and I'm at one of the three, or San Diego. I'm at the Boxing Club, or plan to go Alliance soon. I train with these guys. And so for me, I train to stay in shape. I don't train to actually call people out. And so for me, it's like, I'm an older retired football player. So what I want to do is keep my body intact. I want to keep feeling good. But at times, do I jump in there? And any one of the fighters will tell you, I'll jump in on sparring day, no problem. Absolutely no, with anybody. I don't care who it is. I'll jump in there and I'll get my work in. But I'm not training enough to go and start calling out guys. It's just not really my thing. Now, if it got to that point, will I fight the right guy in Lights Out Extreme Fighting? Then we can start talking then. But until then, man, I'm not. It's a lot of this clout chasing going on, a lot of this BS, and I'm just not with it. The guys who I really wanted to fight, to be honest, I had my team out directly to their team, and no social media, no media, no nothing. And they'll tell you, I've reached out to at least 5 guys over the past year and a half that I think that the fans and people would have wanted to see, because that's why I'm doing it. I'm not trying to be a fighter. I don't want to be a fighter. I actually much rather promote and build a league and do the media part of it and build the fighters, because that's what it's about. It's about the fighters. But will I get in there and scrap with the right person? Absolutely.
Right. I mean, it's like the Jake Paul Mayweather thing. I mean, look, we're sponsored by BetOnline. BetOnline's got, Mayweather comes out with the BetOnline mask. I mean, with the name and stuff like that. And something you talked about putting your name on something and building something, Shawne, which something that brings something interesting because of the college football landscape, right? Name, image, and likeness is something big. I want to ask you, when, being in Maryland, the Washington, D.C. area, when you were coming up and you go to Maryland, how big would that have been for you? And how big do you think is this going to be for college football moving forward with name, image, and likeness? And do you think, and it's kind of a two-part question, Shawne, do you think that this is going to make kids stay in school longer if they're not financially strapped? Like, look, I played collegiately myself, not as good as you, I promise you, but on the O-line. Look, I was strapped. Do you think that this is going to be great for college football, or do you have your concerns?
I think it has to be really monitored. I always felt that the guy should be getting paid.
Right.
Whether it was, $2,000 a month, $4,000 a month. I've never been on board with people saying, oh, by the way, they get a free scholarship. Well, they're also bringing, $40, $50 million a year to the school.
Right.
So let's say that. And then the second part of it is that there are a couple guys on each team. As you've seen a quarterback come out for Alabama, Nick Saban, Coach Nick Saban come out and saying he's been offered close to $1 million for something. So you got a couple guys per program or team that are capable of getting a 6-figure deal, sometimes 7-figure deals while they're in college. The problem I have with that is you got a bunch of these lowlives scrounging around campus, right? That are not good people, that don't care, right? I mean, they just trying to get them with an agent, or they're trying to get them on board with whatever they're selling, and then ultimately not good people, not good businessmen, and not looking out for the futures of these young student athletes. That's where they're going to run into a problem at these kind of these guys just up on campus with a backpack, looking like a student, right? Like they go there and doing things that they're not supposed to do.
Well, Shawne, it's interesting, and I think that you're right, because look, agents, it's already started with all this stuff and how crazy that this has been and how crazy things are going. And I agree with you. I think it does got to be monitored, but I'm glad that it is there, that they can make money, because look, I mean, I remember my $618 and 12-cent check that I was getting every month. That's not enough. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see how it goes on. I do got to ask you this. Aaron Rodgers is something that everybody keeps bringing up. As Milwaukee wins the NBA title last night. It is the talking point of the NFL, whether the NFL likes it or not, about what Aaron Rodgers will do. Shawne, in your opinion, is he going to be with Green Bay in the start of this season, or do you think that there's going to be a deal struck and he's going to be playing elsewhere?
No, I think that there's no way in hell they let him out, and I think he retires and forces their hand. That's what I would do. And actually, if I was him, that's what I would do. There's no way in hell. Look, Green Bay has great fans. They have a great organization as far as the history. You can't do that to one of the best players who's ever walked through, probably the best players ever walked through your organization, and put him in a predicament where you're showing that you may be going another direction when you can help him out now to win a championship. They hedged their bets. It backfired in their face, and now they're forced to deal with it. Now, I got no problem with an organization when it's time, when they want to separate and go their different ways from a player. I mean, that's part of the business. We all get cut, waived, traded. Something's going to release. Something's going to happen at some point in time. But when you do it in a manner that they did to Aaron Rodgers, it's lower than low. It's not even business. This was personal. This was a personal situation and how they went about dealing with Aaron Rodgers. That has nothing to do with them building for the future. Because if you know that Aaron Rodgers is at least 60 or 70% of himself for the next 3 or 4 years, you go get him another offensive lineman. You go get him another cornerback. You go get him another defensive lineman. Another big tight end. That's, the tight end that came out of Florida. One of those type of go get them. Show me that you want to at least try to make an attempt to win another championship right now. They said they basically said, yeah, we think you caught the injury bug. We think you're going to be out here. We're going to draft a younger quarterback and hope that he can step in and take your place in the next year. Oh, by the way, don't have another great year, right? Don't come off one of your best years ever.
Yeah, hey, don't throw 40 touchdowns and 4 interceptions again, right?
Right. Yeah, please don't do that, because now we're going to be up Schitt's Creek. And that's what's happened. That's exactly what happened to the Packers organization. And that's why they're not going to win another championship for a long time. Because let me tell you, players in the locker room, when you do that, they talk. They say, damn, you know what? If they do this to Aaron Rodgers, what the hell you think they'll do to me?
Shawne, you bring up an interesting point where, and it's something I even asked Sapp, and I've asked Ryan Leaf, I've asked multiple people this question. I want to ask you because it's always interesting. We always hear the cliche term, the NFL is a business, but in your career, talking about contracts, talking about these kind of things of a player maybe being drafted at your position, was there a time in your career that you remember that you did, or maybe it just hit you that, man, the NFL really is a business? Take us to that time where you were like, damn, man, this stuff can be cutthroat.
Yeah, I found out that I was on the trading block during the draft. Like, if it wasn't for Chris Berman, I would have never known. When he put the finger up to his ear, like he's getting information, and I might be on the trading block now, and I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, that's news to us, right? I mean,
right. I mean, dude, that's the crazy part about this. Like, they don't ever tell you. Your agents don't tell you. When Berman said that, like, what was the emotion? Dude, were you just in awe? Did you make calls? Like, what were you doing when you heard that at that point?
That's like being on TV and not knowing you're gonna be on TV. Like somebody, or being on social media, somebody's been recording you the whole time, and you have no idea, and you just pop up and you go viral on social media, right? You have no idea why you're there. And so I'm looking at them. I'm looking at all the draft picks and look at the team needs and which direction they plan on going for the next 3 to 5 years. And Chris Berman puts his finger up to his ear and say, I think the Chargers are looking to draft an outside linebacker here. Shawne Merriman may be in the move. And I was like, that's news to us, So, but when you're a younger player, like, you get emotional about it, right? When you're in it, you get emotional. But I talk to a lot of guys now, and they said you can't, and it's hard because the emotion part of it make athletes, make them great or make them not so great or whatever. So you're supposed to get emotional about something you love doing, but it's a business, and it's a part of it.
Shawne, a couple more questions. You've been fantastic. We'll get you out of here. Your Chargers, we got to talk about them. Look, I'll be the first to say that I was wrong about Justin Herbert. Maybe my bias of being an LSU fan, I was clouded by the Joe Burrow thing. But I really thought when he went into New Orleans last year, being at that game, that kid really delivered. It's a changing of the guard there. Where do you see? Look, they got great defensive pieces. I know Melvin Ingram's out, but they still got a lot of great pieces. Where do you think your Chargers? Do you think that they're going to be able to push Kansas City this year? Can they make a playoff run? What says you?
Absolutely. No doubt about it. And I'm not just saying that to be biased. I'm just saying it because I'm watching somebody at work who can actually go out and win a division.
Right.
And actually go out and win a championship. With them, it's just really health, right? They got the hounds. They got the playmakers. Derwin's back. I know they lost Melvin, but Joey Bosa's there. He's healthy. They beefed up that offensive line. Eckler's back there. Jackson's back. So Keenan, Mike Williams, they have the muscle there to do it. It's really going to come down to health. If they can get a good, season or majority of the season of guys being healthy and get their foot in the door to playoffs and get guys back healthy again for the playoffs, absolutely. I got a chance to meet Justin Herbert for the first time. I went to the facility. I talked to Coach Brandon Staley for a little bit, and I got a chance to talk to some of the players. And this dude is big, man. Like you go up to a guy, he's like, oh shit, he has a real presence about him. And when somebody that's the first thing I look at, especially when you talk about the quarterback position. When Phillip Rivers walked into a room, you knew Phillip walked in there. Like you're like, damn, that's Phil. That's Phillip Rivers. And Justin Herbert has that plus more when you talk about appearance because this dude is big. And he's like one of these quiet, cocky, humble, but I'll still throw 350 on you in a second. Like he has that about him. And so I'm excited to watch him and then the team. And then Brandon Staley, man, like he has this energy where I wanted to put back on the pads again for a minute. When you're talking to him, and it's like, man, I want to play for this guy because his energy and his and the motivation, like he breathe, like you feel it being around him when he talks to you, and he's serious about what he's talking about. So absolutely, man, they can go and challenge that division this year.
Last question, I'll get you out of here. I got to know. Who is the favorite, or who is your quarterback that you like stacking the most? You played against some
Tom Brady. I'm not gonna let you finish that, Blake. Like, listen, always and forever, Tom. Anything with me getting a chance to hit Tom was my favorite, like of all time. If you ask me what's my favorite thing in life, even still today, I'll tell you it's hitting Tom Brady.
Shawne, how crazy is it that man played with a torn ACL during our MCL all last season? Like. Is this guy is he ever going to leave? It's like the Nick Saban. Like, is this man ever going to leave? What made Tom so good in your opinion? Was it just all pre-snap? I mean, did he just know what was going to happen before? What just makes that man so good?
I think it's his competitiveness and him willing to compete all the time and hating to lose. Right? There's one thing to love to win, but it's another thing to hate to lose. And Tom he hated to lose. He took extreme pride, and him being competitive in what he did trickled down into his diet, his preparation, and it was about a competition all the time. And so when even people seeing what he did last year, look how much motivation he had. He wanted to show New England that he can still do this. He's still talking about it. I know you seen it the other day with him being passed over, but by another team, another quarterback. Like, hey, you're going to keep this guy like. That stuff drives him because he's so damn competitive, and that's what's going to keep him around for another 2 years if he wants to be.
Shawne, you've been absolutely fantastic, my friend. We'll have to bring you back on. Tell everybody where they can find you on social and everything that you guys are doing.
Yeah, find me at Shawne Merriman on Twitter and Instagram, and my TikTok is Shawne Merriman. And check us out, lightsoutxf.com at the Commerce Casino. If you're in LA, Commerce Casino, Lights Out Extreme Fighting. We're back. August 7th, and get your tickets at lightsoutxf.com.
We'll be pushing it, my brother. Thank you, my friend, and we'll talk again soon.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
That is former NFL great Shawne Merriman. Guys, he's just absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Well, I mean, it's always fun to be able to go behind the scenes and behind the curtain with a former NFL player, and not just an NFL player, but an NFL player of his caliber. It's always fun to do. I saw a couple of y'all's questions. We were having some technical difficulties, or he was having some technical difficulties with his camera, but we'll get that changed for him when he comes back on. Let's do this. Let's get a couple more questions, and then we'll get out of here. I saw this, Henry. The man knows who I am. The man knows who I am. So, versus he on YouTube, the reporter prefaced his question saying he knows Coach O cannot comment on a current investigation and asked him about how it changed how he communicates with players. I don't really know what that means. Ryan, I appreciate you sending us $5, my friend. I don't really know versus he what I don't really know what this means. I should have asked him this. Mark brings up a good question. Hashtag Ask Shawne is coaching in his future. I should have asked him that. I know that he's talked about it before, and he said he's not. But look, his lights out promotion. I mean, look, they are doing some good things. It stinks that COVID and some lights out thing. The Greg Hardy banter back and forth with him was very interesting. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that part plays out. All right, guys. You know what? We're gonna call it a night. We'll bring you back tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow. You guys have a great one. We'll talk again soon. See you later.